Our next reader of the evening is the author of the novel My Only Wife and a forthcoming collection of stories, A Different Bed Every Time. Her recent work has appeared or is forthcoming in Wag's Review, Lies/Isle, Big Lux, and the anthology The Force of What's Possible, Essays of Accessibility and the Avant-Garde. She's also a web fiction editor for Hobart and poetry editor of Decomp. Please join me in welcoming Jac Jemc.
Thank you. Just to tie the evening together a little bit, I thought it should be noted that I have also won a trip to Thailand. I think that's pretty unusual, right?
Very unusual.
I used to work up the street at Women and Children First, and we got a mailing about making a book display to promote a book. And if you made the best display, you won a trip to Thailand. And I was the only person that entered the contest. So it was the best display. So, I mean, here's to free trips to Thailand. This story is called Filch and Rot. We started out as petty thieves. We picked up the mulch-worthy crab apples from neighbors' lawns. We poured water into the vodka bottles in the basement. We took swipes of our brother's deodorant to cover up our sour smells because it had a better scent than anything the pharmacy had to offer us young ladies. We fished the tubes of lipstick out of our teachers' purses. They all wore the same brand, CoverGirl True Shine. In a town with so few options, why were they ignoring the other brands in the drugstore aisle? Surely some teacher with some popularity had spread the word that True Shine was the best product, and all of the other teachers had trucked over to the Walgreens or the CVS to smear samples on the thumb edge of their hands. When our parents were watching movies or failing to listen to each other in arguments, we tucked out the back doors. We set up shell games on the street with the lipstick. We'd uncap the tubes and spin out the shades. Mrs. Ball wore muted powder pink shine and applied hers till the waxy stick ended in a flat plateau. Mrs. Pullman wore blushberry shine and rounded off the tip of her tube. Finally, we flashed Miss Withers's hoary bright crimson Valentine shine with a perfectly maintained diagonal. Cosmo had told us this shape of lipstick proved that Miss Withers was the moody, daring role model we all hoped she was, riding around town with the young shop teacher, his hands rough and smelling of oil, his eyes full of promises and splinters. We'd cap the tubes and lay them down on our piece of cardboard outside the Circle K. Our hands would move fast, sliding the tubes around each other. Powder pink blushberry Valentine we'd call like we were conjuring something. Cash had been laid down. How our parents never heard about the con girls shuffling lipstick outside the Circle K, we didn't know, and thank the good Lord above out loud. But in each of our minds we thought, someday they'll hear, and they'll need to confront us, and would that be so bad? We were fast with our hands. We'd rotate in rosy shine and mauve shine that looked so much like powder pink shine. We'd shake our heads sadly when the mark picked the wrong shade every time. Just tell us how you do it, Bobby's father asked us. But we knew if we didn't tell him, he'd come back with a theory and empty his wallet again. It wasn't long before we started picking up other people's orders at the fast food chain. One of us would order a soft drink and we'd sit with our backs turned to the people line. We'd wait to watch a harried mother pass us to settle her children in before the food was up. And when that number was called and the mother was still pulling off her children's coats and digging up one more booster seat, 3 of us would file out, and one would go smile sweetly at the young pimpled boy who went to school in the next town over and wrap her neatly manicured fingers slowly around the top of the bag and say in a voice so breathy it would blow through the boy's twitchy dreams, "Thank you," and meet us outside where we'd walk to the forest preserve and eat the bits of chicken and plain hamburgers ordered for the kids and the fish fillet sandwich the mother had fooled herself into thinking was a favor to her health. Our schoolwork was sliding. We had been the smart girls, but we'd started getting pretty and thievish. We used our smarts to find workarounds instead. If we only had time to write 2 pages of a 5-page research paper, we printed out the pages we had and then stapled them to 3 blank pages and ripped those pages off, leaving a jagged triangle of paper where no more research had been. We'd slide this paper into the middle of the pile, and by the next day or the next week, when the teacher had sorted through the papers and she told us she was so sorry, but it appeared some of the pages of our report had been lost. Could we please reprint them and turn them in ASAP? And we said we'd bring them the next day. Shanna kept saying, so we bought some time. What's the big deal? Stole that time, I reminded her. We started cutting class and trolling other neighborhoods. We watched people's routines. We noticed people loading their cars with suitcases. We counted family members leaving the house. We had a pattern down. Janet checked all the windows. Eve checked all the doors. Kathy looked for spare keys. And I sat out front ready to call out if I saw something suspicious. We never went in without an escape route. There was always an alley or some woods behind the house that we could disappear in. We took TVs until we had enough of those. We took jewelry and movies we wanted to see and bottles of liquor and stuffed animals that stared at us saying, take me with you. We could have taken a lot more with the intention of selling it, but we behaved modestly. It was the thrill we were stealing most of all. It was that rush. In the alley or the woods, we rubbed dirt into the hems of our skirts and dusted our sandaled feet so they were an ashy gray. At home, we exclaimed our wonder at what people would throw away and what they would just drop off at the dump. Our father smiled at the new TV, but our mothers knew that any self-respecting proprietor of that trash heap would have kept that TV for himself. Eleanor, you can't keep a stuffed bunny from the dump. You'll get red fever or cholera. She pronounced cholera with a ch, and when we heard the noise, our minds felt vindicated. We'd shrug and hug the animal tight, then place it in the arms of our little sister, and she'd run off, and our mother would give us a look like, you've just murdered your little sister. And we were. Not because we were killing our sisters, but because we knew how our mothers were failing. In the winter, we'd plan. The snow slowed us down. We had big downy coats to hide our bounty in, but we hadn't figured out how to avoid leaving footsteps around the houses. We barreled around each other's rooms, sifting through the jewels we'd purloined, letting loose an expensive kind of laughter. Our mothers would knock on our doors. They were convinced we were getting high, but no smells shaped the right way. They'd walk around the outside of the house looking for our windows to open, for toilet paper tubes with dryer sheets to be aimed out into the winter air, but they were always shut. We saw our mothers in the side yards making tracks of their own, and we waved enthusiastically, the wide expanses of our faces undamaged by fear of being caught. Our mothers inhaled sharply, their nostrils stamped together by the freezing wind, their khakis wet to the knee for not having bothered to put boots on instead of her house sneakers. When our friends left, our mothers would ask to talk to us. They had no real evidence against our behavior other than a sneaking suspicion things were unsavory. Are you involved in hate and destruction? They'd ask. They'd comment on the asymmetry of the family as we grew and distanced ourselves. They were worrying, and we all felt moments of sympathy for them, but we shook our heads like they were out of their minds. Is this what it is to watch your daughter grow? They kept asking themselves as we walked away from the table. We shaped our fingers into guns as we rounded the corner and shot at our heads. We stole all the photos of ourselves from this time. We stole our mother's passwords and deleted the photos of us off her computer and slipped pictures out of the frames lining the halls. No, they'd say with big worry in their voices, this is the end. I'm putting up with your secrets, but I won't let you take my memories. Our mothers would hunt our rooms for them to no avail. We didn't think about how someday we'd like to look at who we were. Our mothers hugged us tightly, trying to convince us to return to our old selves, the selves in those photos. You're soaked through, they'd say, but it was our mothers that were coated with sweat, like dishes too early out of the dishwasher, squeaky and startled. It's not uncommon for a person to first imagine someone else is showing their symptoms, in an attempt to objectify the pain and disease. Our mothers told us we smelled naked and ripe, and when they got close enough to hold an ear to our hearts, they recreated the burbling with wet sounds, their clammy tongues flicking around their mouths. Decay, we whispered outside their other ears. All those manners and ethics were being pulled loose of us like too many bones. Coyotes and vultures were burying them deep to savor at a later time. First, the lifeblood drains to the dependent parts of our consciences, and that lividity rises up behind our expressions. The muscles of our decency refuse to uncouple. Our honor cools to a temperature of consensus. Froth and rupture. Our minds pillage themselves. New colors marble through the veins of our principles. Our hair slides out. Our skin slips. The maggots feed on us and squirm away to make their own code. We turn rotten is all. Autolysis and putrefaction. Our morals were breaking themselves down, blistering. They were aided by the outside world that hunted out any point of weakness to feed on, bloating, all that integrity burglarized by blowflies and filched by gut flora. A vibrant person will rebuild herself. Only the dead break down. Thanks.